Good morning, Chooks. Good morning, Chooks.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, morning, Doris.
Nobody not allow me to enter the other classroom.
Are you serious? No wonder. I say,
No, serious. I tried my best. I couldn't. But just fucking me up and down. It was raining here seriously. Everything was just down. Okay.
Flora, you see, Flora, I love you. And every time I see you, I want to hold you in my arms and never let go. You're the girl that fills the dark places in my heart. You're my wife's.
Video was even talking.
Someday rest.
Hello, Chooks. How you doing?
Fine, Matthew. Welcome on board.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the webinar. Just a way of introduction, this is a webinar that we organized within ourselves, where we will have one of our members, one of our colleagues, take us on data analytics. She's going to talk about the general concept of probability, some of the exercises that we will be looking at, and as well as Day's theorem. So please, let's give her the opportunity to run through, and then we can raise our hands to ask questions when we can. I'll try as much as possible to see if I can regulate. So I may be putting some mics on mute where necessary, and then allow the moderator to run the stuff. So, Blessing, over to you.
Okay, so thank you very much and welcome on board, everybody. So I will just quickly share my screen. I hope my network is firm, very firm today. Thank you for the introduction, President. So data analytics, I attempted to go through everything that we have learned in the course of how many lessons so far. But I saw that it will not be possible to compress all into this 75-minute slot. So we'll take as much as we can. If we are lucky enough, then we can arrange another session. So basically, we'll start, as Presido said, with the introduction. Please, can you see my screen?
Yes,
Please, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Please,
I hope this is recorded. Is this recorded?
Yes, we can.
Yes, it's recorded.
Okay,
it's recorded.
okay.
We can share the recording
Kingsley, we are
afterwards.
recording your post as well.
Benga, you are seen. Class participation is noted for you. Okay, so for probabilities, the very first thing that you need to have at the back of your mind when dealing with probabilities is, how do I even begin to assign a probability to the question that I'm given? So that's the beginning of anything you are doing. And there are three methods of assigning probabilities, which we'll quickly run through: the classical method, there's a relative frequency method, and there is a subjective method. So classical method, growing up, I believe that's what we are really used to. When you say what's the probability of getting 1 when you throw a die, so it's 1/6. And the assumption there is that all the outcomes are equally likely. We have equally likely outcomes for, as in no one is more likely to occur than the other. So any one of them stands a fair chance. So that's when we use the classical method. Rolling a die is a classic example. So for what's the probability of me getting a 3, it will be a 1/6 chance, because there are 6 possible outcomes. 3 is just one of them. Number 3 is just one of them. So getting a 3 out of the 6, it's 1/6. That's method 1. Then there is another method, but method 1, although it's classical, yes, it gives us the general mindset, and all other methods are built on this. But life in itself goes beyond that. So we have situations where maybe a number occurs more than once. Okay, so for example, this example point out from our material too could illustrate that. It's called the relative frequency method. So assuming that we have the number of polishers rented. Okay, so it's a 2 rental shop, and each day they rent out polish. Now, so they have on some occasions rented nothing. As in, so 0 is a possible outcome. So you can resume at the shop and there's no rental for that day. That's 0, it's an outcome. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 to a maximum of 4. So that means there are 5 possible outcomes. But these outcomes do not stand a fair chance. The 0, or let's say 2, as we can see here, is more likely to come. So 2 has repeated itself 18 times, while 0 has come up just 4 times. 4 has come up twice. So you see that the assumption for method 1 is nullified. They don't stand a fair chance. All outcomes don't stand a fair chance. So some are more prone to happen than the others. So you use the relative frequency method. What does that imply? You multiply, okay, so this is the number of times, that's the frequency. The number of times this outcome came to bear. So for calculating the probability in such a case, you will do 4 over the total number of occurrences that have ever happened, which is the summation of all the number of days. So simple steps, and I'm going to share this template afterwards so we can all have it. The simple step there is you sum all the total occurrences, which you can see here. So this is a shortcut. You can, when you highlight a place, you can see the quick sum at the bottom tab here. So this is 40, and that is what I did here. So since this is data analytics class, let's not assume that everybody knows, is very familiar with Excel, but so you do summation. That's a formula in Excel. So sum, this is it. This is what I did there. So sum, then you put the range. Okay, okay. So sum, then you put the range, it adds it up. So the individual probabilities is gotten by the frequency, individual frequency, all over the total sum. So that's what I did here. Let me just quickly do it again. So I'll do, for the outcome of 0, I'll do, it occurred 4 times. So I click that cell and divide by the total number of occurrences, which is this. Because I want to work smart, I don't want to be imputing the figures for all the different outcomes. I'm going to lock this by pressing F4. F4 fixed, it makes the 40 fixed, so it doesn't change per time. So there are $2 signs to show that it's fixed. And I click enter. So then I click, enter. So then I click that formula I've put once and I drag it down. And it gives me the probability of all these outcomes occurring. That's the relative frequency method. Then there is a third method, which is the subjective method. So it has to do with a mixture of both. And that's where managers, that's the method most managers use, because you're going to use available data. But it's possible, okay, for example, you want to launch a new business. You haven't launched that line of business before, so you can't say clearly that you know all that is involved. So you're going to use maybe previous data, maybe another product line that you launched earlier, but you won't just use it like that. You're going to, okay, so that was 2015, I launched that. This is 2019. So what has changed? So many things may have changed. Okay, maybe the dollar value, it's better now and all that. So you mix data with experience, your belief, your intuition. That's why it's called subjective method. And because it's subjective, it also varies from person to person. So that's another example that consider the case in which two people made an offer to purchase a house. Two outcomes are possible. Either their offer is accepted or is rejected. While Judy, the first person, he believes that their offer will be accepted, that the probability that their offer is accepted is 0.8. So Judy will set that probability as 0.8, and the probability of it being rejected, E2, as 0.2, because probability must always sum up to 1. The total probability for an event must sum up to 1. So that means the individual, so if there are 10 subsets or 10 tiny events in a main event, each of them, all the probabilities will have to sum up to 1. So if the probability that his offer will be accepted is 0.8, that means 1 minus 0.8 will give the probability that the offer is rejected. Okay. While Tim, the other person, has a different mindset, maybe because of his degree of belief or his assumptions that are made. So subjective is more of intuitive, and it changes from person to person. So having considered how to assign it, these are the only 3 methods of assigning probabilities. Okay, now this little graph by the right, it's a distribution curve that was formed based on this. So when you have assigned probability figures to random variables, you can plot a distribution. You can show the pattern. You can, a probability distribution as well must sum up to, probability distribution curve must also sum up to 1 or 100%. It must sum up to that. So simply what I did to generate this table is to plot the outcomes, which are on this column, against the probability in percent. So this is probability, this I just changed it to percent. So I just, if you see here, this is equal to this cell. Yeah, but what I just did there was to turn that to percent. So you can leave your probability answers as percentages or as decimals. It's fine. If it's a percentage, then it should sum up to 100%. If it is a decimal, it should be between 0 to 1. So I plotted these values versus these values and inserted a graph. I don't know if that will be necessary to do all that here, but if you copy these figures somewhere and copy the probabilities, Control C, elsewhere, sorry. So because they were formulas, they picked, it changed. So I said paste values only. Then you highlight both and go to insert, and you say insert a chart. So you could look up available charts, or if you have a specific one in mind, you could use that. Maybe a column chart. Okay, now use recommended chart. Okay, so this is just simply how that chart was generated. The fancy is just by the corner. So it's as easy as that. Put the X and Y axis, what you need to plot, create a table for it, highlight the table, click insert, and select the kind of chart you want. Then the rest are decorations. So then I can choose to, I will name my chart by clicking here. I will give, okay, let's say distribution, whatever, okay. Clicking here pops up this icon, so I can add many things. I can add data labels. That's what you do to, if you want the individual probabilities to show. I can add a trend line, okay, no. Axis titles, because a graph is not completed except it has titles. So here you name it. Okay, maybe number of polish. And here, relative frequency. Relative frequency. Okay. We need to, let's format the data series. Okay. Okay. So what did we do here again? A lot of things, a lot of cleaning can be done on this. You can remove the grid lines, disappear. You can bring them together, the series points. Yeah. So you can add trend line, but for this kind, it's an exponential trend. This stuff here is covering you. And so on to clean your data, but that's it. So let's move on to exercises. So this exercise again was coined from the template. So the national, so please, when you're reading the question, try to envisage which of the methods will be most suitable for us, because the question is estimate the probability. That means we want to assign probabilities, but which method will be good for us to use? Now the question. So the National Sporting Goods Association conducted a survey of persons 7 years of age or older about participation in sports activities. Statistical Abstract of the United States, 2002. What does the information tell you? Think. It said the total population in this age group was reported at 248.5 million, with 120.9 million male, 127.6 million female. The number of participants for the top 5 sport activities appears here. So this table was given in the question, this table. And these figures were also given in the question: 248.5, 120.9, 127.6. The question now is, 1, for a randomly selected female, estimate the probability of participation in each of the sports activities. A randomly selected female. So I pick a lady or a female from this group. Remember, the population size does not change. It is fixed. You have been given a total population size, which is 248.5 million. Now, what is the probability of participation in each of the sports activities? Please do not overlook any information in statistics. When you are giving each, it's different from all. When you are giving and, it's different from or. So take note of those small terms. So in each of the sports, that means we would analyze each of these activities, the 5 of them. And so that means it's not one figure we are getting as our answer. We will have 5 probability figures for each of, that's 1 for each of the activities. Now, how is that done? Which method can we use? Again, because there were no absolute values, it's not like the rolling a die example that we gave. Each outcome does not stand an equal chance. So we are going to use the relative frequency method. So we are not just going to say, okay, because there are 5, so it's not as simple as that. So this number here gives us a sense of quantity or frequency, and that's the relative frequency method. What does the relative frequency method tell us to do? It says is the number of that specific activity over the total possible outcomes. So it's very simple. For a randomly selected female, estimate the probability of participation in each of the sports activities. So how many females are in bicycle riding? There are 21 million females. But yes? Okay, but how many females, what is the population in this case? The population is the total number of females. The total number of females. So we're going to do simply 21 over 127.6 for each of them. And that is what I did here. So here, a new table was formed that is, let me delete it and do it all over. So let's assume that, okay. So I would say for bicycle riding, the probability that a female will be involved will be 21, the 21 people that are involved over the total female. Again, I like to fix it because this total female does not change. So that's why I clicked F4 so that this C20 will be fixed. And then I click enter. Then that can help me because I will just drag. But be careful when you drag, the order with which this first set of data were arranged, of course, will be the order with which your next set. So if, for example, I had switched exercise walking and I'd put it first, then clicking and dragging will not be good because it's not the same order. Because what it does is that because I did not fix this first part, it will be moving from the bicycle riding. The next one will pick up this value camping. The next one will pick up this value because I did not fix this D11. But I fixed this one, so it remains steady. It doesn't change per time. As you would see, you can see the formula here. D12, the next one is D13, same C20, and done. So we are done with question 1. Estimating the probability of participation in each of the sports activities for female. Now the next one is in the same light for male, so we do the same thing. A simple hint is here. So you compute the probability by dividing individual frequency by total occurrences. And a check for you is that if you're doing the right thing, your probability figures cannot be greater than 1. Or if they are in percentages, they cannot be more than 100%. The third question now is, for a randomly selected person, what is the probability that the person participates in exercise walking? For a randomly selected person, could be male, it could be female. What is the probability that the person participates in exercise walking? The hint is clear here, but I hope you have thought about it before the hint. It's simply the total number of exercise walkers over the total population. We have people, so because they are not specific on male and female, male or female, we will sum up these two. These are the male and female, these are the total number of exercise walkers, and over the total population, which is this. It was given in the question. And that's what we did here. So I summed C13 and D13 over C18. That's it here. Sum this over this. Okay. Please feel free to stop me or ask. I think so, because the silence is quite awkward. I don't even know if I've lost you.
Okay,
So no problem.
We are with you. Anyone who wants to ask a question can unmute him or herself and ask the question. Also use the comment section and type in a question. Maybe I can pick it up and let her explain further.
Okay. Thank
yeah,
you.
Blessing, the probability that you have lost us is 0. So we are listening. Go ahead.
Thank you, Binga. Okay,
Right.
So that's number 3. I think we are clear with that. Then the last question was, suppose you just happen to see an exercise walker going by. What's the probability that the walker is a woman? Now you have just seen exercise walkers, but you want to know, what's the probability that she's a woman, not a man? Okay. So that one now, what population are we looking at? What is, so that brings us to that concept of population. Population is the entire scope of interest. Entire scope of interest. Then there is a sample size and there is a population. So in this case, all this while we have been looking at the overall population. In fact, we have looked at 3 different populations. So your mind, you might be asking, is the population changing? Yes, it changes depending on where your interest is. So, like the first one that was about female, for a randomly selected female, that already creates an area of interest for you. So you know what your population is at that point. It's not the total population size. It is that of females. I hope that's clear. So your question will help you to understand what population you're looking at, which should come as your denominator. So question 1 was randomly selected female. So our population is female. Question 2 was randomly selected male. So our interest was now total male for the denominator. Question 3 was randomly selected person. So that changed our population to be the entire scope, as you would see here.
That's
Will
an
you see
exercise
it?
walking.
Yes, as an exercise walking. So they said, what is the probability the person is, okay. So we used the total scope for exercise walking over the population we're looking at was the entire, because it's male or female, everybody is involved. So we looked at the total population as the denominator. What I'm referring to is what is dividing it, what's the population under. And now this last one has given us yet another scenario. Suppose you just happen to see an exercise walker going by. So it tells you that I'm not interested anymore about the total male or female. I'm not interested in cyclists. I'm only interested in exercise walkers. So at that point, you should know that the total population, your area of interest at that point is the exercise walkers. So that's why I did, what's the probability of the worker being a woman? So I did, what's the frequency of women over the total exercise workers? The hint is here. Total number of female exercise workers over the sum of male and female exercise workers. So that is all for this exercise. For the male, we did the same thing too. Total number of male, so it will be 28.7 over the sum over 28.7 plus 57.7. That's what we have here, and it gives us that. Moving on to another exercise, if there is no question.
Question.
Yes.
Listen, this is Ayo. So
Okay.
the last one, that what is the probability the worker is a woman? Is it not taking us to the just for clarity? Is it not taking us to the given, the conditional probability that what is the probability is a woman, given that it's an exercise worker?
Yes, it will come to that, but this is still, we haven't been given conditional probabilities yet in this exercise. So you have things that will trigger your thoughts to this is a conditional probability. Yes, you would have been given lots more probabilities, okay? Because for you to now say this is a conditional probability question, you'd have given maybe probability that it's an exercise worker, or probability that is a woman given, okay, probability that she's doing exercise given that she's a woman, and all that. You'd have been given far more, but if you look at the question, we're not even given any probability. So there's a lot of what do I call it? For conditional probabilities, there's a minimum number of stated. They must give you some things. You must know, like that, you must know the prior probabilities. and then you'll be looking for posterior probabilities. We'll get into it in Bayes' theorem. So you must know some givens. You must have been given some things before you'll be required to find some other things. Yes, but we're not given here, so it's still a very basic relative frequency or classical method that can be used here.
Listen, I'm a bit confused on that right now. Good morning.
Okay. Morning.
Yeah, I thought that particular question would be a conditional probability.
Okay, so if it is a conditional probability, how do you think we can approach it? Do you know why it's not? Okay, let me just go straight. Because me too, when I started solving that question. So this question is in our slides that were shared, and the solution is there too. But I just took the question and I attempted to solve it myself before even glancing at the answer. And that's when I did this stuff here, because I wanted to just head on to conditional probabilities. So I summed it. I summed, okay, not that one, yes. But when you sum it, you will see that it exceeds the total number. So not all the information was given.
Okay.
Hold on. What did I do here? So hold on. So if you sum the total male and the total female, and then sum male and female, you'll see what we will arrive at. We're arriving at a total population of 285.1 as against the total population that was given in the question, 248.5. So what it then means is that there is a likelihood that some people did more than one activity.
No, Blessing, on that, there was something he said on that day. There was something he said. I think it's not just this question. The prior question he gave as well did not sum up. So when we told him, he said we should sum it on the table and use what we have on the table. Okay. So I remember that day we raised that question. If you check the prior question that was given, we also have such mismatch. I remember asking
it's not a mismatch. It's not a mismatch. If you look at the question, there were a lot of sporting activity. This is just for the top 5.
Top 5, exactly.
So it means that the others are what makes up the remaining sample population. So this is just considering the top 5. Maybe the other ones are negligible, I cannot say, but this is not the whole sample. This is just for the top 5.
I asked him the question that day. That I asked him that should we take the because this is the top 5, should we now take put others below and not sum them together? So what he said, maybe I didn't understand him so well, but what I learned that he said was that we should sum it and use what we have on the table. Maybe I didn't get him too well, but I think that was what I heard.
You're correct. If we are given a similar exercise and the sum doesn't equal the information provided, what do we do? Because I would think that Blessing's view is probably the way to go. The fact that there could be more people who are engaged in multiple.
Yeah, I think for you have nailed it. Because people are engaged in multiple activities, the sum of the activities, individual activities, will not be the sum of the population.
Of the total number of people, yes.
Do not look at that one. The total number of people is a different configuration than the activities, because like you rightly said, there will be multiple in this. So there are certain individuals that are counting as multiple entities here. So someone that does exercise, walking, and camping, for example, if Chooks had been in this thing, he would have been exercising with equipment and have been swimming in Niger Delta. So he would have counted for 2 elements. So it's
Wait.
that's issue.
But the
Bring them
problem
in
with
spirit.
see
Yeah,
the
and that's
problem
how
with that argument, the problem with the argument of people participating in more than one sport is that if that is the case, if you sum up the, for
Female, female.
instance, the total number of males, like Blessing did in the spreadsheet, that's B20, sorry, C20. You understand? C20, if they participated in more than one sport, C20 will not be equals to the 120.9 in the question.
We understand that. We understand that, Matthew. I think we are overanalyzing this thing, in my view. Is there a possibility? I'm saying this in relation to a different exercise. Imagine we're giving of the individuals participating. What do you do?
Sorry,
he
I think your
also
network is
explained that day. He said people were participating in more than one sport.
more than one. And Matthew,
Yeah, and that
sorry,
was our
something.
approach. We use that very
Sorry,
distinction.
sorry, Somto. Matthew, what are you actually saying regarding the 120.9?
Okay, you see, inside the question, they mentioned that there are 120.9 million males, right? And 127.6 million females in the question. So that is, they are giving you absolute, that is the figure. Now, when you now break it down where they broke it down by sporting activity, they now showed you the breakdown for each sport, right? So if you add up the total number of for each sport, the figure you get there, if they participated in more than, if one person participated in more than one sport, for instance, if you sum up, it will be higher than 120.9.
Which it is.
It is now. It is
the case in this situation.
It is now. So this is the summation. So female now sums up to 161.8.
Okay.
Making it look like there were more people which were not accounted for in the report.
Okay.
Remember, this report was an abstract. So you see the female was now 161, male 123. Okay, and I want to assume that there were even other sports that this is just top 5. So let's say there were some other figures here that will further increase the total number. So it only gives credence to the fact that some people engaged in more than one. And we're not given all those details. So we cannot quickly assume this to be the conditional probability. Sorry?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we should try and mute our mics, and then when we want to talk, we talk, and after that we can go back and mute our mics so that we can actually hear ourselves, and then the background noise can also be filtered out. And I think we should let Blessing move forward. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, let's allow her to run through it. And then in the end, people can ask questions.
Whilst allowing Blessing to move forward, I think what we should also just do is if there is a question that needs clarity, because if someone is not clear, then you will lose them moving forward. So, Matthew, I think you are clear now so that we can move forward. If there's someone that needs clarity, it would be good to help the person, because when I need clarity, I would like to be helped before we move forward.
Please move this window away. Are you seeing it as well? I'm seeing something in the middle of my screen. I don't know. Or are you seeing the Excel sheet, or is something blocking your view?
No, we are okay. It is fading off.
We can see the Excel sheet. We can see the Excel sheet.
Okay. So so that's it. So I had already started the conditional probability. The thing is, when most times when we
Blessing, I think the window is something you are sharing on your screen is what's blocking the Excel. So it's still on your screen. That's why it's showing us shared application. It's on your screen.
Okay, so I'll share again. Okay, so it's gone now. I think it's clear now.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it's clear. It is, yeah.
Okay, so most times when we have, for example, the Ace Automotive case, because we had learned all the probability, so we just dived into it. And when you are exposed to more complicated things, then you fail to, or you start failing to see things in their simple forms. So I had done that, but I was hitting a brick wall because, of course, the sum of probability in a distribution is supposed to be 1. So if you want to start doing that, this was clearly not 1. So this goes to tell you that the population that we were considering had some duplications. It had some repetitions within it. It wasn't clear-cut figures. So this did not represent only male that did bicycle riding only. It wasn't stated there. Remember, again, I said those small words, they mean a lot. So if they had said only, then we could hit our chest and said it's only. But this is total bicycle riding. It doesn't push away those that did bicycle riding alongside other activities. So that's why probability is good also, because you can conduct the check on yourself. So when I had my summation as 2.28, not summing up to 1, then I knew something was clearly wrong, and that's what brought me back to it. And then I checked the example, and I was clear about it. So another exercise is still about
Blessing.
probabilities. Yes.
Sorry, Blessing. President, what was your agreement? We wait at the end, or we make comments? Please let me get it clear. Sorry, so that I won't flout the rules.
Yeah. So the need to ask is just for clarity, because there will be no need. If you don't understand it, you keep quiet, then you'll be lost. So if there is a genuine question to ask before the she completes it, that's fine. Otherwise, any other question will be at the end of it, then we can ask.
Okay, just to Blessing, I raised the issue of the conditionality. I think your interpretation and based on, because from the slide, the same approach, if you look, there's a reason that made the denominator not to be the entire sample denominator. The entire sample denominator, from even the answers he gave in the slide, was 248.5. But the reason that will now make the denominator now to be 28.7 plus 57.7 is actually because of the conditionality now that now said that that are now considering those that are working. So that is the reason we now have that. So if you still apply that conditional probability, the answer you will get is the same thing with what you got, and is the same thing with what is on the slide.
If you apply the conditionality.
Because the intercept between both of them, the intercept between, yes.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Blessing, sorry, yeah.
We can hear you. You said if we apply the conditionality, we will still get the same answer.
Yes, of course, yes. If we use conditional probabilities, the same answer.
Blessing, we can't see your,
but now your
screen again. We can't see your screen again.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, so if you apply conditional probability, but now you do a new sum. So your new sum now will be 285.1.
No. If you think conditional probability, Sorry, from when I looked at conditional probability again, I saw that the way it is, actually what you did now is the same formula for conditional probability. All those many long things that they will say, they will say this over this, over this, over this, over that, is not really, it doesn't really work like that. If you check the textbook, you will see that it's just exercise working plus this. Do you understand? So if you now say given that is a female, is now 57.7 over the total, which is 86.4. So that's just simple conditional probability. Because me, I took time to look at the conditional probability because it was a bit confusing for me. Yeah.
Okay, let's progress. Let's progress. And the major thing is the answer. I mean, I think we should progress.
Yeah, since the answer is the same,
If the answer is the same, I think
you should go ahead. Everybody may not use the same approach, but at least we understand how to derive it. Let's progress.
Okay. So this is almost a similar thing. So the adult population of a country by age is given on this table. So this table was given. The data are in millions of people who assume that a person will be randomly chosen from this population. What is the probability of that the person is 18 to 24 years old? It's simple. 18 to 24 years old was given. So we'll do this over the total sum, okay, which is this. So this is what we got here. So I just did the others just for doing sake because it wasn't asked. Question that was asked was 18 to 14 years. What is the probability? So you compute the probability by dividing the individual frequency by overall total occurrences. So you see that the relative frequency method comes up very often because most times data, they don't have a fair chance. They change. There are so many with so many recurring data. So you just use the relative frequency method. So again, it's D17 for this one over total number. And then you have your value and you click and drag in case you need other ones. 2, what's the probability the person is 18 to 34 years old? It's 18 to 24, 25 to 34. So it's asking you to deal with these two probabilities. That's what it's asking you for. And that you will do. So you calculate the probability of the first two and you sum it up. It's quite simple. So 18 to 34, I just pull up this data and then sum up the two probabilities. So the probabilities of all the outcomes, remember, must sum up to 1. That is a test you should conduct on any of your data points. So these are all the possible outcomes. So we're giving all. So if I'm doing what is right, when I sum all the possible outcomes, it should give me 1, which it did here. Yeah. Those two individual probabilities, and then I have my answer. The third question is, what's the probability the person is 45 or older? 45 or older. Again, it gives you a range. You're looking at a range in your mind. So this 45 or over. So that's it. I pick up the figures I had already computed here and sum up these three, and then I have my answer. I think that's relatively easy to grasp. Now, I know we don't really like too much of law and terminologies, but it's necessary for us to build on. It's the foundation that we have to build on if we need to move on to more complex things.
Blessing, are you there? Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear
Can
you.
hear you, Troops, but we can't hear Blessing.
Yes, my blessing is offline.
Yeah, let me.
What's the
Let's just hold
probability?
on a while. I'm sure she will connect back.
Yeah, let me put a call through to her. Yeah, I think she's offline. Let me call her. Okay. Okay, just reconnect. We're waiting for you. Thank you.
While we wait for Blessing, I would
Yes.
like to clarify something.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I asked a question which wasn't answered, but I thought it was okay for us to move on in the interest of time. The question is again, in the instance where the first exercise we were considering, we are given a similar situation where the sum of the, samples exceeds the sum that was provided in the text. What do we do? I'm not sure anyone has answered that because I just feel that we glossed over it in the interest of time. Because I believe that the reason the probability sum exceeds 1 might be because of that. Is Blessing back?
Yes, she's back.
Okay, so we can decide at what point we want to answer that question.
Blessing, did you understand the question?
Yes, she's saying, what do we do when the probability is more than 1? If I get that correct. Or, sorry.
No, that wasn't the question. The question is, what do you do in the case where the sum of the, the sum that we got from information provided in the text, where everything is supposed to be 245 point something, but we got about 285. In that instance, what do we do if we have a similar situation? Because I understand from the previous set, I think someone who's doing number 24, who says that Bongo style is to repeat some of the exercises given to us in the exam. So it could very well be that a similar situation or like this same one will be presented. What do we do?
I would say we keep to the given facts. That's what I would say. And I will use, because the facts are always right. I will use the judge cases, for example. I'm not sure I have it open here. Okay, so I will use the judge cases for an example. So they gave us figures. I think that thing pops up whenever I want to open another window that is not this one. So that's when it pops up. Maybe I'm still learning how to use Zoom. Okay, so
Sorry, Blessing.
but the exam, yes.
Sorry, Blessing, but sorry, to answer Queen's case, is it just not simply that you are looking at the wrong population if you are getting a different number? The population, the total population as given is 248.5, and that will not change. When you are looking at the total population of the event and you are getting your 280, it's a different population. It is not the same thing. So I think the right answer is that stick to your population given. The one of the events has other factors that are not your population. I don't know how right that is. Right?
Yes, I support that, and I wanted to give an instance. So the judge case that we did as assignment, initially when, in the stated facts, it said 38 judges, okay? And then when I just copied the list and I pasted, so I didn't bother going through all the names. So I saw that there were 40 judges. So I said, so which is correct? Do I stick to, maybe this thing was just an error. So maybe it really is 40 judges, but they wrote 38. But then as I got analyzing, I went back there and I saw that 2 judges were repeated in 2 courts. So that's why, so in terms of number of judges, they were actually 38. But for that file that dropped down there, we were seeing 40 line items. So I would advise, if we are faced with this kind of scenario in an exam setting, we stick to the facts. There must really be something we are missing that was not stated, or maybe we are overlooking, that's giving us the error or the difference. But stick to the facts. The facts.
Right.
I have a suggestion. I have a suggestion.
Can I just quickly finish? The information provided in the case for the judges was clear that there are some judges that were involved in more than one court. It was provided. That information was provided in the text. So that is not I'm not sure it's a similar situation as
I have
this
a
one.
suggestion. I have a suggestion. I think we can call up Bongo. Bongo is, it's not far away. I think we can call up Bongo. Then we ask him this question.
Agreed.
You understand?
Completely agreed.
So let him clarify.
Festus.
Yeah.
Festus, a quick one, please. A quick one.
Yes.
On this call now, how many participants do we have?
24.
We have 24.
But if you check the number of people, they are not 24, because right now I am connecting with 2 devices, but it is still just me. So you cannot use the number of connections, which is the activities here now in bicycle riding and co, as your population. Your population has been given. The number of participants is still 23. If I disconnect from my phone, which is what I've done, we will go back to the we'll go back to 23, which is what I have now. I've just disconnected my phone. So the 24, 23 are the events. The events are different from the population. So we should stick with the number of population and not confuse it with the events. The bicycle riding and camping and stuff are events.
Okay, so Benga, so that we can move on, because I asked this question, so we can move on.
Okay, guys, let's talk. Let's other people. What I feel is this: once you read it and you do the sum and it doesn't tally, that means that you have another information to analyze. Is a key, just like Benga says. So you don't expect the information, like he says, is that it is now the reason why it cannot work is that you have multiple people doing multiple events. So it will not sum up. So you have to use what was given.
Yes, see, clearly from the solution that was provided in the slide of Bongo, it shows that you use what was given, which I will go with as well. But what I'm saying is that to clear all the minds, to clear everybody's minds 100%, you understand, we can still reach out to Bongo. So for now, we could agree that, okay, let's stick with, because the solution he provided, like in the case of the exercise, bicycle riding, camping and all that, what he used was the summation that was given in the question, which was 248.5. That was what was used. Not 285 when you sum it up, which clearly shows that people participated in more than one sport. It's clear. But what I'm saying, for everybody minds to be, because the question for Ishola asked was about exams. So for everybody mind to be completely assured, when it's not coming from Bongo, reinforcing what we believe now, then we cannot go to bank with it. That's just a suggestion.
Yes, sir. So
let's move on, because we have had barely 15 minutes to round off.
Okay, so quickly, the terms. So union of events, overview. It's another event that summarizes or contains all sample points that are in A or B or both. Okay, so we'll understand that clearly, more clearly as we progress. It's denoted by this. So this is the union sign. Okay, so this, take note, union of events. Please, take note that union is not and, because when we visualize in terms of maybe the Venn diagram, you see a circle, then you see a circle A, another circle B. So you say union of events, it means bringing the two together. So you are, in your mind, you are saying and, but it's not and, please. It is or. So just maybe cram it or anything. The union of events is an or question. So I say, what is the probability that I will eat rice or eba? Or, so that or there means if I eat rice, it's fine, it's okay. If I eat eba, it's okay. If I eat both too, it's okay. That's what union connotes. But when you say, what is the probability that I will eat rice and stew or rice and egusi soup? It means that if I eat only rice, or if I eat rice with stew, not egusi soup, it's not an intersection. When I say I want to eat rice and egusi soup, then we talk about intersection. The two of them must come together. I hope we understand it as we progress. So the union of events is the event containing all sample points that are in A or B. A or B. While the intersection of events is the set of all sample points that are in both A and B. The two must be there. That's why it's an and that's why it's intersection. Okay. Then there's another term, or there are other terms in probability that we need to understand. When you say an event is mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive, that means they don't have anything in common. They cannot occur at the same time. It's either a head or a tail, it cannot be both. Yes, so mutually exclusive, one occurring cancels the ability of the other one to occur. So I'm just trying to explain it in different ways. The occurrence is unstable. So the occurrence of one event will result in the non-occurrence of the other. Because one has happened, the next one can happen, because they can't happen at the same time. So I just used the head or tail as an example. I don't want to go into real life scenarios, because then we'll have a debate, because it can be raining and then the sun will be shining at the same time. So we can't say those ones are mutually exclusive events. But anyone that could think of any real life scenario of mutually exclusive events can please feel free to share.
Night and day.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. So it cannot be night and be day at the same time. So so because one has occurred, the other cannot occur. And the mathematical formula is that P, probability of A and B occurring, is 0. Remember, and stands for intersection. It means two of them to occur at the same time. So the probability of A and B, talking about intersection of two events, is 0, because nights cannot occur at the same time with day. So in you're drawing a Venn diagram, they don't overlap. They are two separate circles. They stand apart. There is no overlapping part between both of them. Meanwhile, there is another concept of dependent and independent events. They say an event is independent when the occurrence of one event will not control the occurrence of another. So why I put them together is that a mutually exclusive event cannot be independent. Because remember, we defined it as two things that cannot occur at the same time. If one is already occurring, the other one has no chance to occur. If it's already day, then it can be night. So that means it being night is dependent on whether it's day or not. That's the way I can explain it. So two events are independent when the occurrence of one event cannot control the occurrence of other. That means the two of them can happen at the same time. Independent events can occur at the same time. One does not cause another or stop another from happening. Occurrence of one event has no influence on the other. The probability of A and B is the probability of A times the probability of B. Because A has its own right to occur, B has its own right to occur. So if you're considering the two, multiply them and then you have your probability. Meanwhile, in this case, it's 0 because they never occur together. Okay. And the Venn diagram overlaps. Any other person with independent event example in mind can share? Okay, I'm seeing chat. President, please, I hope you're looking at the chat in case it's something I need to answer.
Yeah,
because I see there are 17.
Yeah, there's one. Just see the last one.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So quickly, we'll jump. There is what we call addition law. Addition law. Okay, so it stems from the union of events. Okay, then there is I've spoken about mutually exclusive. Conditional probability is the probability of an event given another event has occurred. It's called conditional. I think we need to jump to Bayes' theorem because of our time. We have very few minutes left. So while unions forms the addition law, intersection is what forms the multiplication law. And then is this multiplication law as well that we derive conditional probability from. Let's go to Bayes' theorem. Another question that was taken in class. So we'll run through it very quickly because we all did this exercise in class. So Bayes' theorem, so the idea of probabilities, sometimes you set out with estimation. Okay, I know some things, and then you start. That's prior probabilities. But as you go further down, you get additional information. So you need to revisit your earlier assumptions. That's what Bayes' theorem does. So you have the prior probabilities that you started out with, and then you have posterior probabilities at the end. So a manufacturing plant, it's on slide this, it has two suppliers, A1, A2. Historically, so we have some information, and this is what we built with originally. A1 historically supplies 65% of products. Again, probability must sum up to 100%. So if the company has just two suppliers, A1 and A2, and A1 supplies 65, then A2 is supplying the rest, 35. Now, A1, in terms of good and bad, 98% of all that A1 supplies are good, 2% bad. We're given this information. How do we now tackle the problem? We want to be able, what's the problem in our mind? We want to be able to, for example, if at the end of it, and I pick up a bad product, I want to know what is the probability that it was supplier A1 that gave me this thing. That's the posterior probability that Bayes' theorem can help us define. I pick up, now I know that A1 supplies this, I have this information. But now I'm at the end of the process. Two suppliers have supplied, and one item is bad. I pick up this bad one and say, which supplier brought it? What's the probability that is A1 supplier that gave me this bad one? It's not stated here. It's not stated here. If you just pick this 2% bad, then you'll be wrong, because then all these 4 percentages will be 200%. because this is just classifying A1 supplies and this is A2. So let's move on. Step 1, you prepare a joint probability table. And this is how it's done. So the two suppliers are here and the good and bad outcomes are here. So what do you do here? All basically is intersection that will be in this place. This with the deep blue is called joint probabilities. And these marginal ones, this by the corners, are called marginal probabilities. Okay, how do we compute the joint probabilities? It is a probability that supplier A1 gives me a good product. I put it here. It's intersection, that means and. It's a good product and it's from A1. I put it here. I do the same. A1 with B, a bad product from A1. So I took out the time to write this first so we can understand. Now, the next step, so here are the marginal probabilities. Is the sum. What does this mean literally? It means what's the probability that A1 did the supply, both good and bad?
Hello, Blessing, can you hear us? Hello. Can everybody else hear?
I'm here.
Yeah,
This is
we
Philip.
can hear you, Chooks. Yeah.
We can hear you. We can't hear Blessing.
Let me just ask a quick question here. So
Yeah,
the
we can hear
marginal probabilities, is it the same as prior probability?
Come again, we didn't get you.
Did anyone hear my question?
Come again.
Yes.
My question is, marginal and prior probabilities, are they the same? Do they mean the same thing?
No.
Can you please differentiate?
Yeah, so from what Blessing is doing here, what I'm seeing here, marginal probability is the same thing as posterior, not prior. If you look at what she's doing here, her chart and all that, yeah, so there is a chart here that says I don't know which color, maybe ash or something, that says marginal probability, and then she
posterior probability is after the fact.
yeah,
But in this case,
posterior. A posteriori.
how's that possible?
Network.
Yeah. Don't worry, we'll introduce you to a new provider.
So I specifically bought this thing today because I know that T-Salat is not strong in my house. Yet it's still. Let me share. Move on. Someone else is sharing, so it says I can't share.
No, you are the one sharing. So all you need to do is to.
Hello, it's someone else sharing the screen. It says I can't share my screen.
You're the one sharing. Okay,
the
let me.
other participant is sharing.
Okay, you can share now.
Okay.
Blessing. Blessing, can you hear me?
Okay. Okay, I can hear you.
Yeah, you can actually share.
Okay. So I can share. I'm up now. So quickly, because we don't have time, this one was given in the question: 65% A1, 35% A2. So that's why I put it here, and there's a small comment here that it's given. It's given in the question. How do we get this out? This is a formula from, we rushed that, so we did not see how to derive the formula. But basically, it was here. So a conditional probability means that the probability that A occurs, given that B has already occurred before it. So A given B. It's simple. It's the probability of their intersection. Just put both of them there. whichever one comes first does not mean, so I can say PB intersection A, it's still the same thing. So probability that A and B happen over probability of B only. That's how to get this. And why is it B at the denominator? Remember, B was the first condition that was fulfilled. Now, this question is saying, what's the probability that A will occur given that B has already occurred? So have it in mind that B has already occurred. So you have the figures for that. So put both of them up, put B that occurred first, and that's the conditional probability formula. I hope it's easy. So you don't need to cram it. A given B, that
Hello, I think Blessing has dropped off again. So we will progress to close the meeting, but we'll share the spreadsheet to everyone, and then post the.
Folks, you don't have the screen, the Excel sheet, so you can explain small. Shoot.
I don't have the.
It's still showing on my own screen.
Yeah, it's showing on the screen, but she has dropped off. I don't have the Excel spreadsheet. She will share it after the session.
What I'm saying is opportunity to come back.
We've already maxed out our time, but I don't know.
Can we have another one? Because I was beginning to understand, and now suddenly I'm telling you, I was beginning to understand. I've not gotten to the point
before you started understanding.
Okay,
you said what?
Let's see if.
Benga, what did you say?
You said joint understanding.
I didn't see anything.
Yeah, he's getting interested now.
Yeah, he's actually getting there because I've been actually been struggling with this course. So, hey,
she's doing justice to it already. So we want her to finish.
I'm telling you.
She's a Spartan. Say thank you to the Spartans.
I beg, let me hear what Spartan.
I beg, what do you mean Spartan? Okay, so sorry.
Welcome back, Blessing.
Thank you.
I'm so happy. We're so happy that you're back.
The probability that people will contribute money and give me
a better
don't worry, internet.
0.2%.
It's equal to 1. It's equal to 1.
Okay, so this is it. Just rearranging this cross multiplying is what gave birth to the multiplication law. So it's really simple. And again, this is given, you can change this. I told you that be in the same thing. So now I think we can revisit it. So when we see it here, we are not bothered.
Okay,
so when we see it here,
Blessing,
this is the last one.
Yeah,
this is the last one.
I wanted us to treat one question and then close from there. For Inshallah asked the question, the difference between marginal probability and what do you call it?
Joint.
No, marginal probability.
Prior probability and marginal.
And prior probability, if they are the same, or if they're not, you can explain. So if you can treat that question, then we can.
Okay, prior probability is marginal probability. It's the same.
That's what I thought.
Okay, then go ahead. Let's round up.
Hello. Yes, it is the same. It is the same.
Okay.
Prior probability is the same.
Oh, okay, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I think
are you considering good or bad? Then it's also your prior. So marginal and prior are the same thing. Okay, so here I was just computing it. A1, A2. So A1 was given A1 good. I'm using this formula. Remember, I put this in, it's very simple. Just combine these two and put an intersection. And we call this formula, which is this. So A intersection B implies probability of B, marginal probability of B, times P given A given B. Now, what's the probability of, so in this our case now, AG. It means that we will do 0.65 because we were given the probability that A1 supplies. Look at it here, it's here. BA1 is this. So 0.65 times 0.98. We're given the fact that he historically gives us 98. And that's what we do and get all these values. This is actually computing it. Now, this is the question that was asked originally. If I was given, if I picked up a bad one, how do I know what's the probability that it's A1 that supplied it to me? Now that you have done all this, you can make this table. You can make this table. Your prior probability that is A1 or A2 is stated here. The conditional probability was given, it's stated here. This probability is picked up from here. Because remember, the question is, I picked up a bad one. I picked up a bad one. Well, how do I know which supplier? So I'm not looking at B. This was given. This was given. Now, bad one for A1 supplier. This is it, what I worked out. I put it here. Bad one for A2 is this. And so the posterior probability, what is the probability that is A1 that supplied that bad one? Is this over this. So when we share the file, you can click the cells and know what was done in each cell.
Sorry, Blessing.
Yes.
How did you get the 0.01? Sorry.
Okay, the 0.01 here is gotten by multiplying 0.65 times 0.02.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, this table is just the same thing evolving into this tree. So these were the formula state. This is the actual input that I put, which were all given, and this is the answer. So this, because I'm interested in bad, I picked this two. This is it. This is it. Probability. This is AI, not A1, please. So AI, that any of the A's. So AI could be A1 or A2. So for here, it means the probability that A1 gave a bad good is here. So I picked that figure here. That A2 gave a bad good is here. So the summation of all bad probability is this. So posterior probability, that's at the end of it. Now I'm with a bad good in my hand. I want to know, is it A1? I do A1 probability to supply bad good over the total. It gives me this. And for A2, I do the same. It gives me that, which sums up to 1. So that is the tabular form, which is easy. And this is the mathematical form, which will still give you the same answers. The mathematical form, will still give you the same answer. So these were the answers we got here: 0.426, 0.576. If you apply the formula as explained and as derived, you will get the same thing. I think that's all for today. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, Blessing, thanks a lot. In fact, we appreciate your diligence, your candor, and all that you have done to, explain this aspect of probability. We'll have opportunity to schedule further webinars, and we'll be approaching some of our subject matter experts to help facilitate this. Thank you very much. If we have any comments, please, let's go ahead.
Thank you, Blessing. God bless you, Spartan.
Blessing, thank you very much. Blessing, Blessing.
Thank you very
Please,
much,
I need to give a
Blessing.
disclaimer first. I'm not a data scientist, so I'm an engineer turned salesperson.